Our message is very, very simple. We want to educate the kids, not indoctrinate them.
I think this election should be the pandemic election.
Yeah! She doesn't want these projects in her backyard, in Warringah. She wants them in yours.
What's wrong with Australia today?
For me, it's leadership. There's just a lack of leadership.
She wants them on your farmland.
I just want to ask what have vaccine mandates achieved? Apart from putting good people out of work.
We should be energy independent here in Australia. We've got everything.
Have you confirmed that you are negative before attending tonight if you are unvaccinated?
You only have one vote, but it's very powerful.
Together, we will prevail.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Commanding the Narrative, streaming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. I'm joined by Mr. Sam Buono. How are you today, Sam?
Happy New Year, Stephen.
Happy New Year.
Our first one for a couple of months, or about 6 weeks now.
Yes, we don't have Richard with us today.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Out.
We can carry on without Richard. We'll have Richard back again,
No
of
doubt.
course, because we can't do this without him. In a way, without I need someone to disagree with. So
he's the brains behind it.
he's the brains behind it. So how have you been? How has your New Year been, Sam?
I've done a lot of housebound stuff.
Yeah.
Been last week or so. Find a new fridge. Find some quotes for awnings and cleaning my footpaths, and I hadn't done for about 10, 15 years. So that was a bit busy the last week or two. But in between the rain, after that, we promised, what was it, long, hot, dry summer, was it?
Yeah, where'd that go? Where was the extreme heat and the dry days and the no rain and all this?
Well, they told us 2 months ago. So how are they going to tell us what's going to happen in 20, 30 years' time?
They don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. They're pretty good. I'll get, like, my work, I have to be very conscious of the weather, especially the rain, because they can really affect the equipment that I use and everything. So they're pretty good with the temperature. The rain, they're useless.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was preparing for a long, hot, dry summer, fair enough, because we've had 2 or 3 wet ones. It hasn't stopped. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's been cold. It's been mild. Like, it hasn't been. We had a couple of days that were in the 30s. There was that one day in the 40s, and they made it sound like it was the end of the earth.
That's catastrophic.
But I think they've got this strategy where it's always, this is going to happen, and then they petrify everyone about it, and then it never happens. So
when something does not go right, like now they'll say this is all part of climate change. Come on, man, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, cold weather's climate change, hot weather's climate change, rain's climate change.
You just
everything's
can't win. You just can't. There'll just always be something, a different angle. God, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And where's the accountability? Where is the accountability?
There isn't any. Because it's an agenda. It's a narrative. That's why we call this commanding the narrative. And if there's a narrative, we have to push back against the narrative, because they'll just keep pushing it.
I read something the other day in the I think it was the Gunnedah Gazette on the Liverpool Plains.
What are you reading that for?
I know a few guys up there, and I know a few mates out the back country, out in the west of Dubbo and things like that. So you like to know what's going on out there, and you talk to people. A lot of people, I know we're talking differently to what we should be talking about. We've got people, farmers, who have sold their stock. Some of them had the last couple of years. It's been a bonanza. It's had plenty of rain, plenty of feed, so they've rebuilt their stocks. 6 months ago, they said it was going to be a long, dry, hot summer, so you destock. suddenly you've got to go to send it to markets, and there's a glut of sheep and cows and stuff like that. So instead of getting $400 a kilo, it's getting down to $250 because they've got to get sold.
Yeah. Was it the same with the sheep? They're selling sheep for $1.
That's right. Well, that's a combination of that and the live sheep trade getting banned. So there's a glut.
Yeah,
so it's all supply.
Mind you, the lamb price at Woolworths hasn't gone down. If they're getting sheep for $1, and imagine how many lamb cutlets you'll get out of that.
That's right.
And you're still paying over $20 for a kilo for lamb.
At the same time, if you want to, I'm not going to be Woolworths and to a point bashing Woolworths and Coles, but there is a lot of costs after they leave the farm.
Oh, we got a comment already from Phoenix. Hello, Phoenix. Can someone discuss Woolworths not flying the Australian flag, but instead they are going to fly Aboriginal flags at every Woolworths by 2025, and they refuse to sell any Australia Day products? Yes, Phoenix, we do plan to talk about that later in the episode.
We certainly will be.
That's a big issue, and I think we'll definitely discuss that. But if you do want to support us in any sort of way, this is just an option there if you choose, and some people do. So we put it up. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. You can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and contribute to everything that we do here. It helps to pay the subscription to StreamYard and everything. So if you do choose to support us, please check it out. Buy Me a Coffee, just / commanding the narrative. So check that one out if you do. And I also want to mention the Reckless Renewables Rally coming up on the 6th of February in Canberra. If you do want to go and support the farmers and people living in Port Stephens and down in the Illawarra that are facing offshore wind farms. I mean, a lot of these solar farms and wind farms, they sound great, but the amount of land that they have to clear for these projects, the destruction that's a result of that, and not to mention the transmission lines that crisscross across the country to reach these wind farms and solar panel farms. I mean, it causes a lot of environmental destruction. So there is a rally coming up in Canberra, at Parliament House on February 6th. It starts at 10 o'clock. We'll have a whole bunch of speakers there, a lot of parliamentarians. A little guy called Stephen Tripp will be speaking. And Sam, yes?
And that's why I read the Gunnedah Gazette.
Okay, well, there you go.
There is a big project going along the western side of the Liverpool Plains from a place called Coolah. All the way to a place called Mullally, which is all on the western, not quite on the Liverpool Plains, but on the western side of the Liverpool Plains, where it's hilly country. But and once again, you got to run cables all the way back to Gunnedah, all the way down to what's the place at Muswellbrook where the old.
Well, see, people don't think about this.
Yeah.
They just
transmission costs. And
they think that these wind farms and solar panel farms, I mean, a lot of the time it's pushed by city electorates, which we live in.
Yep.
And they don't know what's happening out there. They don't know what's happening out in the country. And they just think that these just magically pop up and they don't take a huge amount of land, but they do.
They do. Certainly.
And they don't consider the transmission lines. Now there's transmission lines already installed, but they're mainly along the coastlines because that's where the power stations are.
That's right.
But these wind farms and solar panel farms, especially the solar panels, have to be inland.
And it's got to get to the
grid
because that's where they make the money. They get to sell the grid to sell electricity to Sydney, Newcastle and Wollongong, where the population is here.
Yeah, so they do have a Facebook group, the Reckless Renewables Rally Facebook group. If you want to learn more, you can go there and find more out about that. So as I said, 6th of February, if you can get down there, it is a Tuesday, but if you can get down there, please get down there and support everyone that is going to get down there and speak and rally. But today, Sam.
Stephen.
You're definitely not Richard. Sam, we're going to discuss something, and not everyone may agree with the Liberal Party and the National Party getting back into government, but from my view, it's probably better than the Labor government at the moment, especially when we're looking at legislation like the misinformation, disinformation legislation and the digital IDs. And there's no guarantee that the Liberal Party won't support those policies, but I think they should. I think if they went to the election saying that we're going to repeal the misinformation, disinformation legislation, that would be a big statement, and potentially an election winning statement.
Yeah, there's no doubt there are the privacy issues and the misinformation. Whoever's a judge of that has just got me beaten. You read stuff around and you ask these people, who's going to be the arbitrator?
Yeah.
You think the government is?
Not only that, I read some, I was on Twitter and some people were saying, oh, well, you got nothing. If you're not spreading misinformation, you got nothing to worry about. Okay. All right. Well, that might be good for you now that your, beloved government's in power. But what happens if it changes? And it will change. There will be a Liberal government at some point, and then they're going to be controlling what's misinformation and disinformation. That's so right. If you think that you're okay and that your information is the true information, well, it all comes down to interpretation.
It's all delusional, this sort of stuff, and then we can tell people what they can say and what they can say and what they can't say, which is just beyond belief. And people go, no, this might sound silly, but people go to war. We've been going to war to fight for our freedoms.
Yeah.
So these people want to basically pull us in, sort of like a 1984 situation, isn't it?
Well, it is the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, that's what Orwell said, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
And I can suddenly all this sort of stuff is all coming in and the cashless society and things like that.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like I went to a shop the other day. I gave him $5 note. He said, "Mate, I've got no change." I said, "What?" So,
yeah, because the banks don't let you take out coins anymore.
That's right. Yeah, I went to a cricket game the other day, and I went and I gave him $5 just buy a bottle of water. I said, "Mate, what's that?" I said, "That's $5, mate." And he said, "Oh, I've got no. This is, they got the swipers and all that sort of stuff, mate. I'm in my late 50s, man. I'm a bit old fashioned that way,
Yeah, yeah.
And,
oh well. All right, so let's talk about the lay of the land. So there's 151 seats in Parliament. Labor now have 77. They need 76 to form government, so they're okay on that front. The Liberal Party won 58 at the federal election, but they now currently have 55. Do you know the 3 seats they lost?
One is a bloke called Broadbent.
Yep, Russell Broadbent.
The bloke at Khalil.
So Russell Broadbent had been in the Parliament longer than anyone else.
Years. Yeah, 30 years. No, he's not the father of the house. I think the father of the house is
if he's not the first, he's the second or something.
Yeah, I think Bob Catter is.
Okay, yeah, could be right about Bob Catter.
I think Bob Catter.
The difference this time is that Russell Broadbent spoke up a lot about excess deaths and vaccine injuries, and he got his head chopped off because of it.
He got belted in his pre-selection. He got beaten 130 to 30 or something.
Yeah,
that was whacking.
So a lot of people out there will say to me, "Why don't the Liberal Party? Why don't the members of Parliament speak up more about excess deaths and vaccine injuries?" Well, this is a clear example why they don't, because they know they'll lose their pre-selections, and that's concerning in itself, but it is a reason why. Is it a justification? No, but it is a reason why.
That is a factor, but also he's been there for 30 years.
Yeah, okay. So you think it was it's time,
and there's no doubt it's an it's time factor.
Okay, so Russell Broadbent won. That he's become an independent now.
Yeah.
What is the other one?
An ex-national from the seat of Calais.
Yeah, Andrew G.
Andrew G.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon he'll run as a teal in that part.
Great,
because Teals with Phil Donato, the state member of Orange, he's an independent. His vote's very high up there, and there's a lot of new people around Orange now. A lot of city people have moved up there. I don't know if he'll win it because obviously the seat goes from basically Lithgow all the way to Parks, or this side of the southern side of Parks and Wellington. So it's a long way, and takes Mudgee, so it takes a big area up that way.
Okay, so that's 2 they've lost,
and the third one. I had it in my head.
Aston by-election.
Oh, right, Aston by-election. Yeah, fair enough.
So they lost to Labor.
Well, I say we're probably ahead of the curve, but I'm just saying it'd be interesting what happens in Dunkley.
That's coming up, the Dunkley by-election. So it is currently Labor.
Yeah.
It was Liberal for a long time. So from 1996 to 2019, it was Liberal.
Held by a member called Bruce Bilson.
Okay. I don't know how you know all this stuff.
Sometimes you know, sometimes.
Just speak up a bit. Sam.
Sometimes you get things right, sometimes you get it wrong.
So the two-party preferred in 2022 was 43.7% Liberal and 56.3% Labor. So the Liberals have quite a ways to win that. Do you think they've got a shot?
Be a real good test. I still think Labor will hold on.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. But I think it'd be interesting that the Liberal Party of Liberal Party candidate is a mayor of Frankston.
Okay.
So he must have some reputation out there to be mayor.
Okay.
And the thing, what people don't tell you, is that the mayor was elected by the people.
Oh, really?
It wasn't elected for the 15 members of the councils. A direct election of the mayor.
So you'd hope that he's popular.
Well, you think he'd popular, but he's in Frankston, which is the western side of the electorate. Sorry, the eastern side of the electorate. The other half goes towards the Liberal areas, which is a bit of teal around there now, around Mornington.
And what about the minor parties? Have you heard any talk whether the Libertarians will run?
I saw the advertisement the other day on someone's Twitter feed that they have got a candidate.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten into detail who the candidate is. So I assume the Green will have someone there. Might be a cluster of independents. If they were in Labor by elections, they generally don't have Melbourne Cup fields.
Yeah.
So it's a real test for the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. Probably Richard won't like what I'm going to say now, but they've had a bad 6 months since the referendum. They've held firm, but there've been no coups. No one's backstabbing.
What about the polls? What are the polls saying?
Well, I saw a poll came out yesterday or the day before from Morgan, and it was at Christmas time it was 50-50. Now it's 51-49 to Labor.
But wasn't there a poll that came out? Richard was telling me this on the phone that Labor was down to 29% of the primary.
Yeah, that was before Christmas. I think that might have been. That's the only poll. Morgan's the only one's put one out since Christmas. Since the New Year.
Okay, so the task for the coalition to win government is quite steep. Now the difference, to win government, they'll have to pick up an extra 21 seats. Now when Tony Abbott won his landslide election in 2013, he picked up 18 seats.
From 2010 to 2013.
Yeah,
that's a lot of seats.
Yeah.
Well, he from the 2007 Rudd slide, he got it back to minority government in 2010, and then he won. Then he picked them up, splattered the rest of them in 2013.
So this is where the Liberal and National Party have been. In 2010, they won 72 seats. 2013, they won 90 seats. 2016, they won 76. 2019, they won 77. 2022, they won 58. And then now that's down to 55. So they've got a task ahead of them. I mean, they could pick it up. Is this potentially why Richard's talking more about minority government being more of a factor more than an outright loss for Labor?
Well, the key to that is do they hold their seats in Western Australia?
Yeah. We actually got Richard listening. Morgan was the 3rd of January, 29% ALP.
Well, there's no one come out yesterday or the day before, Richard. If you Google it, it'll be there somewhere.
Yeah, okay. What about, so they've got a huge task ahead of them. They've got to win 21 seats. Do you see any...
Massive task.
Where would they focus?
The way the Dutton's been going, you think he's been looking at more... not just because what Woolworths did with Australia Day, but a bit of Woolworths bashing and stuff like that. So I think he's trying to look for a new demographic. I think deep down, I think he thinks he can't win teal seats anymore.
Yeah, well, I think they can, but I think there's a lot of Liberal Party people saying that they can't.
Yeah. I'm in that side. I just don't think some places. Further you go out from the sea, from Sydney Harbour, it's maybe a little bit easier. But I can't see Wentworth and Warringah.
Well, the Teals will definitely hold some. They currently have. So the other breakdown of the parliament is that the Greens have 4, which is scary. Yeah. They have Melbourne, Griffith, Ryan, and Brisbane. And what surprised me is 3 of those are Queensland seats.
Or inner city seats. But you've got this demographic of the inner city. This is all in the Western world. I've read stuff in England that where seats in London and Manchester and Birmingham, which used to be Conservative seats, they've gone Social Democrat, the Social Democrats or the Labor Party, and obviously the Labor Party of the working class have abandoned the Labor Party last election in England, and the Red Wall fell over up north.
Yeah.
So I think what Liberal Party, and this is a 3 election strategy, I think they've got to go out to Western Sydney, Western Melbourne, northern Melbourne, some parts of Melbourne, North Adelaide.
Don't you think they need to go back to their core values, their core policies? I mean, I keep hearing this thing about the Liberal Party. Oh, we're a broad church. Well, what's a church? A church is what you a belief institution. So what you believe in. So we're basically saying we broadly believe in a lot of things. Well, you can't really be like that, because then you believe in everything. You have to have core values. And if you have this saying, oh, we're a broad church, well, what do you really stand for?
I think a broad church is more ideology than policy.
Yeah,
it's
but doesn't policy come from your ideology?
That's where the problem is. You got people who are from Western working class areas or tradies, Tony's tradies, the tradesmen, and who vote Liberal Party, and you got people who work for global companies or work for banking institutes or public service who live within 15 kilometres of the CBDs of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Yeah.
Phoenix just put a comment here. The Libertarians have better values than the Liberals.
Yeah. Well, that's another issue we can go with that. I wonder where Phoenix is from.
Yeah, we're not sure about that, but
might be some penthouse in North Sydney.
So the teals have 7. So Kylie Tink could face a redistribution.
That's right. They all say that could be that North Sydney might get abolished. Be interesting what the AEC do. Interesting what they do. There's no doubt. Well, it's got to go from 151 seats down to 150 seats. Yeah. So one's got to go in Melbourne and one's got to go in Sydney to create a new seat in Perth.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. 3 differences. So they've got to rejig every boundary. Like there could be some boundaries that go from one side of the harbour to the other side of the harbour, or one side of the Shire up to Moorebank on the southern side of Sydney, or one electorate which might take anything from Camden out to the Warragamba Dam might be moved somewhere else, and the electorate might go further into the bush towards Cootamundra. So you're talking little things like, and then there's 20 or 30,000 votes going to be jigged around everywhere.
When's this going to take place?
I think it'll be done. I think there'll be an announcement by mid-year.
Okay.
There'll be provisional, and generally when they say provisional, say this is what we're going to do. But they generally don't change their mind once they make the decision. That very hard they'll change their mind on that.
Yeah.
So we'll probably know mid-year.
Okay. So what's your gut feeling about the next election?
Who'll win?
Yeah.
I think Labor will still win.
Yeah, but will they lose seats?
Well, they've had some good news last couple of weeks.
Such as
inflation's gone down.
It went down once.
And there was some stuff come out today. Unemployment still there's a 3 on it.
I was talking to my accountant yesterday, and he said that he talks to various people that should be in the know, and he said that Albanese will go to an election in November, and the reason for that is because of they're expecting interest rates to start dropping by then, and they'll capitalize on that. So we could be staring down the barrel of a federal election by the end of this year.
Let's see what the opinion polls too say. If the opinion poll's still at 51-49, and he's a terrible campaigner.
He is a terrible campaigner, but he still won.
Yeah, but only because of anti-Morris and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to say, if the opinion polls will be the same thing. If it's 53-54, he'll go to an election. If it's 51-52 and he's a terrible campaigner.
And what is it currently again?
51-49. Well, that's Morgan. Morgan's more on the Labor side. Traditionally, they're polling more favourable to Labor. So I think I know News Poll might come out. Well, generally News Poll will put one out just before Parliament resumes in 2 weeks' time.
So essentially, this year is critical. My view is that the coalition is probably not ready. They probably haven't really. Dutton hasn't really established himself enough as a leader.
I think he's done this well. He's worked this to a 3-year to 6-year plan. The last 18 months is about let the government fall on their sword a bit, let them announce stuff, and then obviously the referendum. He lost a lot of ground, Albanese, so he couldn't sell a flog. He's hopeless.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone agrees.
He's a terrible campaign. I don't think he'll ever change. I just say that when they see him, say, "What the hell is this bloke on about?" You know.
Phoenix is back at it again. Phoenix has said, "Penny always makes the wrong decisions. Just look at her latest trip."
You still haven't said you're on the penthouse in North Sydney, have you?
I don't think many people would understand that, Sam. That's an inside joke.
That's an inside joke.
Richard says the only way inflation will come down is if the government reduces spending.
No doubt about that. That's part of the equation. That's no doubt about that.
Why are they going after homeowners with interest rates?
I think it's to stop consumer spending.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're living beyond our means.
But if a lot of people and a lot of young people that would probably spend more, I would say.
When we were young, we spent we lived life as from one pay packet to another packet.
Yeah.
Relative to you and me.
But they would be renting.
Yeah.
So how's interest rate increases going to affect them?
Well, because there's a couple of things. Well, obviously the housing situation is basically it's a supply and demand issue. There's not enough housing. Yeah.
Yeah.
500,000 people.
But the question is, why are they increasing interest rates but keeping government spending high and expecting inflation to come down?
Well, that's an economic question, and basically it's always interpreted as answers. But the thing is that all that pandemic money has all been. I looked at savings and the savings rates. I looked on the RBA website about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and people they always look at what's your savings. People saving might be 10% or 12% of GDP and things like that.
Yeah,
it's down to 3% now. So people are almost in emergency stuff.
Well, that's scary.
So there's not much in the bank.
I mean, that's the problem. They always go after the little person.
And the thing is that the renters, they live from paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
you know, so they'll still get on the grog on a Saturday night and stuff like that. But they won't instead of doing 3 times a week, they'll only do it 2 times a week. Or buy their takeaways and go in the backyard and sit there with a bonfire and have a snag here and there. You know?
Yeah.
So all that sort of thing. But again, the unemployment figures came out today and it was still a 3 on it. You know?
Richard says, unless you believe the government, and about the Ukraine causing inflation. Yeah, well, that's true. Kim says, hello, Kim.
Hello, Kim. Happy New Year, Kim.
Yes, thank you for watching, Kim. If Albo gets back in, I'm moving to South America with Shane. So that's a reference to the interview that we did with Shane Caulfield for the ex-candidates on Sunday night. Yeah. Kim, we will be probably doing a future episode in probably about a month's time with someone that Shane deals with in Paraguay. So stay tuned for that one.
That's a fun, interesting country, Paraguay.
Paraguay, yeah.
They're almost 100% renewable.
Yeah.
It's a very small country. I think Paraguay is from here to Newcastle. I think, wouldn't it? It's not a big state.
Yeah. Okay.
But their electricity prices are phenomenally high.
Okay, so maybe don't move to Paraguay.
I'm just saying. I read something a couple months ago saying that. I think I sort of read it on Bloomberg. Came up on my feed. I don't know why it comes up on my feed, but it said that Paraguay have got almost 100% renewables, but their prices are just astronomically high. Yeah, okay.
Let's talk about issues and policy. What does the coalition need to embrace or maybe not embrace? How about, we just had the referendum. I think that was a big tick for them, especially for Jacinta Price. I think that may have dented Dutton's leadership a little bit. He was in a no-win situation, I believe. If he'd come out and been the figurehead, they would have attacked him and destroyed him.
That's right.
So he had to put Jacinta there, but the result of that was a lot of people were saying afterwards, well, we want Jacinta to be the Prime Minister. They weren't saying we want Dutton to be the Prime Minister.
The only problem is where's she going to find a lower house seat?
That's the problem. She's in the wrong house. She's in the upper house, in the Senate, and she's in the wrong party as well.
Yeah.
She's in the Country Nationals.
I think in the NT it's called the Country National Party.
Something like that, yeah. But
Well,
essentially the National Party.
The CLP, Country Liberal Party, I think it is, or Country National Party.
I think it's National Party. Yeah. So so Jacinta's got a long way before that.
I know if they really want her in Parliament in the lower house, there's a very safe seat in Queensland that should sack. If she's a member of the National Party, which she's purported to be, they could transfer her to Queensland, which is and she'll be in the biggest electorate one of the biggest electorates in Australia, the seat of Moanoa.
Okay.
Which is the safest coalition seat in Australia.
And is Little Proud?
Little Proud's a member, so they could say to David, "You've had 10 years here, and you've reached your run, but we've got a girl that might be the Prime Minister."
Yeah. Okay. Will we ever see a Nationals Prime Minister?
No. But she joins the Liberal Party.
Okay. So she would have to join the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
What about net zero? Should they abolish net zero?
Well, how do you win teal seats back?
Argue the point. Command the narrative, Sam.
Yeah, fair enough.
We want leaders. We want people with conviction. We want people to stand up for the people that they're meant to be representing.
Well, I'm talking about numbers, pure numbers, winning seats. You're talking about we're going to win.
Yeah, but what you present to the public changes the numbers.
True. I think Liberals should target Western Sydney and Western Melbourne and the suburbs.
Yeah, but then
that takes time.
But okay, so we'll part of a campaign for some little party called One Nation, where Mark Latham was the leader, and he focused on Western Sydney, but he ignored city seats and he ignored the country, and it cost him.
Yeah,
you can't just focus purely on one area.
Yeah, but I was talking to someone involved at the time, and he said to me, they wanted people out in the bush, but it had no one, but also had the agreement with the Shooters Party. So
yeah, you still got to talk about issues out there.
Yeah, maybe he didn't want to go out there and stuff like that.
What's Richard written here? He's written an essay. Royal Navy Doctrine. Why have an equitable engagement when you may have an inequitable one? In other words, why have a fair fight when you can have an unfair one? I don't know what he means by what he's talking in reference to that.
Please explain.
Richard, call in.
Yeah.
Hit the link. We haven't had too many callers lately, especially when we do the ex-candidates. I miss having callers. So the link is in the chat. If you want to call in, hit the link, and you can use your phone, you can use your laptop. Please, we want to hear from people.
Talkback stuff, eh?
Yeah, let's do some talkback. If you can call in, please do it.
We've got plenty of time on a Thursday afternoon.
What about no censorship? So we mentioned this before, misinformation, disinformation legislation. If they come out strongly saying we're not going to have any censorship, you have your free speech, and
well, I think that's Liberal Party policy. I think Dutton's against this law.
I think they've said that, but they need to come out and strongly.
I think they haven't they? I'm pretty sure they have.
Well, I mean, they need to keep talking about it.
They've delayed the legislation.
Okay. Yeah. It's still there, though. The digital ID things floating around.
If it's going to be enacted, if he's going to go to election in November, you want this all out by the budget session in May.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get that stuff out. You don't want to linger around the next election.
Well, here's the question. Will Labor delay the misinformation, disinformation until after the election? If it is going to be November.
If it's going to be minority government, you might have to do it because the teals want that law too.
Yeah, well, these damn teals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cost of living. Now, what does the Liberal Party need to do? What policies do they need to have to address cost of living?
Well, they've got to cut government spending.
Cut government spending straight away.
There's a lot. I read some the other day. The public service has gone up by about 8%, 10% since Albo has been in government. I looked at the they're getting paid $800,000 salaries of head honchos.
Not just that, more.
The NDIS,
over $1 million. Some
the NDIS is that's just going to be astronomical amount of money in the next 10 to 15 years. So it's just, and then you got the red tape in the country. There's employing more people. I saw the tax department. Their employees, I think they've gone from 51,000 to 53,000. in the last 12 months. This is how of a nerd I am. I read annual reports from public service.
Oh, what's wrong with you? Kim says, stop immigration.
No doubt about that. But that they would say that we're not, might sound a bit male chauvinistic picky, but we're not breeding enough people. Our birth rate is down. Our birth rate is down.
Got a comment here from the ex-candidates. I don't know how that happens. Maybe that's Adam. I don't think they've come out strongly if you have to say, I think they have.
What do you mean by that, Adam?
I don't think they have. They've come out strongly if you have to say, I think they have. So I think what he's saying is if you have to say that I think they've come out strongly, then they haven't come out strongly enough. You should know. You should know that Dutton should be up there every day saying, get rid of this. Get it off the books. We're not supporting getting the question time. Ask questions to Albanese. Why do we need this legislation?
Well, what you remember, Dutton's been in the parliament for 20 years. You got Barnaby, you got Susan Lay and these other people. Don't like it. There's a lot of experience there.
Are you ready for a caller?
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
good afternoon.
What a surprise.
Big surprise.
So supposedly you were busy, Richard.
Well, I'm not busy. I'm not too busy to be here.
What are you up to,
so,
mate?
did you like my comment about the Royal Navy doctrine?
No, we had no idea what you're talking about, so please explain it. Hey, hold on.
Please explain.
Please explain. Easy. With the teals, they are very good at having unfair fights. So what we need to do is give them an unfair fight and give them not one candidate to fight, but 3 or 4, right, and tag team them. I had a meeting with my ex-wife and my mother the other day, and they tag teamed me. I came out of it feeling like I'd been pulverized. So that's what we need to do to the teals. And they're all useless. So if we put them under pressure, they'll fold. You know, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, but the teals have got a very good strategy of media strategy. Like they won't go into a fight like that. If it's not on their terms, like the Greens do, they won't debate you. They just won't. That's how they.
Well, then you verbal
hide in the corner. You know,
you verbal them. You have a meeting without them, and you just pour shit on them.
It's all data. The teals and the Climate 200. They'll just say we don't need to go to this debate. We don't need to talk to this guy. The data says we don't need to do that sort of stuff.
Look, I think I'm missing something here. I wouldn't actually run just a Liberal candidate against them. I'd get Advance Australia to fight them, and have multiple candidates.
Yeah, but will Advance Australia really get traction in teal seats?
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Well, I saw Advance Australia run the campaign against Ali Segal in 2022, and they were horrible.
Well, they might have learned something.
Well, I hope so. I mean, they did a hell of a lot better job during the referendum. I will say that.
Mm. And they did need to go to the teal seats to campaign because they're one vote, one value.
Mm, true.
So the vote in Manly is the same vote in Broken Hill.
Well, it didn't affect. Yeah, that's true. I mean, despite their good campaigning, it didn't affect the vote in the teal seats.
Yeah.
If you look at the referendum results.
Well, the thing is that what Advance Australia was very good at doing was getting non-Liberal voters to vote against the government's cause. And that's the bottom line.
In Western Sydney, but not in teal seats.
Well, I think everywhere. They did it better in Western Sydney. I won't argue with that. Western Sydney.
Richard, I'll ask you this question. We were talking before that the coalition need to win 21 seats to get into government. Where do you see that happening?
That's not true. There's already been there'll already be 2 Labor seats abolished in New South Wales and Victoria, and 1 created in Western Australia, which will be a coalition seat. So the arithmetic that everyone's using is wrong.
So that will bring it down to 18?
It's probably a bit less than that because I can see the coalition winning between 11 and 14 seats pretty easily. I'm looking ahead, say 12 months time. I don't think there'll be an election in November. I think it'll be next year.
I agree.
And I don't think Albanese will be fighting it either.
Well, that's another question that we haven't discussed.
Richard, I think you're on the dead one on that one. I just at this stage, it's too late into the cycle, mate.
Well, it was too late in the cycle when they fired Gillard, but they still did it.
But as I've said to you publicly and privately, they're not going to get sucked in by that. If they're going to die, they're going to die with their feet standing. They're not going to do this.
Well, then they'll die horribly. If Albanese is leading them, it'll be like the charge of the Light Brigade.
Do you agree that he's not a great campaigner?
Oh, he's an appalling leader. He's not a leader at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got no idea what he's doing. I saw him probably 2 nights ago, and he can't even look straight. His eyes are looking all over the place. He's looking for a place to run.
Where were you? Where were you?
I was watching him.
Oh, watching. I thought you went to a function or something like that 2 days ago.
No.
You don't know what Richard gets up to. Yeah. But Richard, I guess if we want to, is there anything else you want to say before we move on to another issue? Because we've got some massive issues that we need to talk about with Woolworths and Aldi banning selling Australian Day merchandise. We also want to talk about the Iowa primary. I know you don't like to talk about American politics, so do you have anything?
Sorry, Steve, I've got a plane going overhead.
Do you have anything further to say about the upcoming federal election and whether Dutton can pull it off? Maybe here's a question for you: is Dutton the right leader?
Well, Christian Porter probably would have been better, but that's been and gone. I think he's improved his chances. I always thought he had a 20% chance. I think he's probably up to about 30 now. But I don't really think that's quite the question. The question is whether anyone will be able to form a majority government or even a solid coalition government. And that's very doubtful.
Do you agree, Richard, that if Western Australia is still firm on the Labor side, that they might just stay in majority government?
No. They've only got a majority of 2 seats. I can see them losing, maybe 10 without fail. So they're going to need to be in coalition with, what's left of the Teals or the Greens or anyone else that'll help them. But it'll be a mess.
Yeah. The plus is a couple of retirements too. When the Broadbent retires, Lynch from North Queensland is retiring. That's what they say.
Yeah, that could be consequential. Warren Inch is a very good MP.
Leichhardt could be in play, really in play.
Yeah.
So basically, but what you essentially both are saying is that the coalition will go close, but it's likely to be a Labor minority government.
It depends how many seats Labor lose. Like what happens in Western Sydney, what happens in Western Melbourne, Northern Melbourne. I know Liberal Party have been working hard in Northern Melbourne around.
Are they capable of working hard?
Sorry?
Are they capable of working hard?
Well, there's a bloke there called
any place in the Victorian Liberal Party.
Well, there's a bloke called Evan Mulholland who does a lot of work in northern suburbs of Melbourne, in Broadmeadow and things like that.
Yeah.
Some of those seats in the state election went from 25, 28, 30% margins to 10, 12%.
Sure.
And some of those seats in northern suburbs of Melbourne.
I see Adam's in the chat. I mean, Adam, if you want to ring in and contribute as well, would like to hear from you, especially about Woolworths and Aldi not selling Australia Day merchandise. Now, Richard, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, they're traitors.
I agree with you, Richard. I think it's disgraceful. I think enough is enough. They're just ridiculous. What are they trying to do? Didn't listen to what the people said 4 months ago, 60-40. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is what happens when you have these big corporations that are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, and they just push these agendas.
Like, I read some stuff. There's a bit of what's happening in Harvard and stuff like people starting to push back a bit there. So obviously we're still about probably a year or two away.
In Harvard
University,
they're pushing back, aren't they? Like super woke.
No, they got rid of the president.
Oh, okay.
Harvard, because she went to the Senate committee. She went to the Congress. Was it Congress or Senate, Richard?
I'm not sure.
I think it was the Senate inquiry, about the anti-Semitic stuff in universities, and she said there's no anti-Semitic stuff in university.
See, here's what we're going to cop this Invasion Day stuff, right? So and I don't have a problem with this. We're told we've got to celebrate the Aboriginal people. I mean, they got a fantastic culture, and they've been through all this trauma and everything. Even though you have people like Aboriginal elders like Kerry White that say white fella saved us. Okay, well, let's celebrate our Indigenous people. Not a problem. Okay, we've got to celebrate the immigrants. Okay, all the people that have come to this country and enriched this country. Your family, Sam, and
my old man came out with nothing in 1951.
Yeah, all these people that come out here with nothing, and they work their hearts out and they work their guts out to contribute to their families and contribute to the country. Okay, we'll celebrate immigrants, but we've got to demonize the British. They've never done anything right. We've got to call it. We can't have Australia Day now. We can't sell flags in major supermarkets because the British were so terrible and everything that they contributed is wrong. Okay, well, why is that? Where is that agenda coming from? The way that I view things, if you want to find the positive in something, you'll find it. If you want to find the negative in something, you'll find it. So if you want to find, if you're just purely looking at the negatives of the British coming here to Australia, you'll find it. There's things, but if you want to look at the positives, they're overwhelming. And we wouldn't have what we have here. And if you're talking about invasion, right? It's not like the British landed on the beaches and stormed the beaches like in D-Day. They got off their ships. They walked onto the edge of Botany Bay or wherever it was. They put up a Union Jack, and then they got to work about building this nation. There was no guns ablazing, and I mean, sure there was conflict along the way.
Yeah.
And there was conflict from both sides. There's a plaque in the Northern Beaches. I'm not going to say where it is because some activists will go and rip it down. But it tells the story of one of the early governors. I think it was Phillip or might have been Macquarie, whoever it was surveying the coastline. And an Aboriginal man came up and speared him in the shoulder. And he said, no, don't. But, they're going to shoot him. And he said, no, let him go. It's okay. So it wasn't all negative things on the British side. So this
was Governor Phillip.
Say that again, Richard.
It was Governor Phillip at Manly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought it was Phillip. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a whole ethos about how the natives were to be treated, and that was followed for quite a while. But I think what's really important is to differentiate colonial history from Australian history, colonial British history. And I had a discussion with Auntie Susie, who's our local Aboriginal elder. She's a Camaragal elder. And she found it quite interesting that I differentiated between Australian history starting at 1901 when we federated and formed Australia and colonial history. Because from her point of view, and she said, we just see it as we were here for 60,000 years. You blokes arrived, 250 odd years ago, and nothing's been the same since. That there's no differentiation. Whereas for an Australian who's descended from, I guess, 20th century arrivals, it's like we just have no relationship with British colonial history. Very little, anyway. And I think the distinction needs to be made.
What happened in 1820s? What can I have done? I was born in 1965, for God's sake.
Yeah, well,
what's happened is always, as Stephen just said, we've had problems in this country. Like any other country, we're not perfect. We just got to live together and keep going forward.
And we're a hell of a lot better than other countries. We didn't have a civil war. We didn't have huge conflicts. We've got a tremendous amount of things to celebrate. And I think the majority of Australians do want to celebrate this country. They want to go out there with their flags and their banners. And look, one thing I will say, And we've got another comment here from Phoenix. Phoenix has said, I don't understand why Woolworths wants to fly Aboriginal flags at every store by 2025, but no mention of the Australian one. Look, by all means, if you want to go and fly the Australian flag, I think that's great. I guess this whole issue, I mean, about selling Australia Day merchandise, it's all made in China anyway. So
that's right.
If I was in any position of I guess having a say in this, I would say, well, okay, I do agree that we should be selling Australia Day merchandise, so we should be celebrating Australia Day, but all this merchandise, anything with the Australian flag needs to be produced here in Australia.
That's simple economics on that one.
Well, I mean, it'll be a lot more expensive, but
it would be.
We could make sure that our flags are actually made here. I believe there's a problem with that even at the moment.
Well, you can find them. The flag that I have, I specifically made sure that it was Australian made. So you can find Australian made material, but you know, everyone running around with Australian Day gear on that's made in China. I mean, I think I do have an issue with that. But I mean, everyone thinks that Woolworths is an Australian company. It's actually not.
It's a combination. It's shareholders. Majority of obviously fund managers.
That's mainly from South Africa, I heard.
No, the CEO is South African.
Okay.
Brad Braducci, or whatever his name is. The reason I know that is because my nephew's wife is high up at Woolworths.
Oh, okay.
So she's a lawyer.
Have we heard any rumblings from Coles?
Not a word.
Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
That's right. Silence is golden. Just keep going. But I don't think. I think Woolworths will survive. There might be a dip in sales for a couple of weeks. Then it'll be back to normal.
Well, everyone's going on about how much their share price has gone down. But that will rebound.
So is Coles. Coles.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, look at the damage that Qantas has done to itself. I mean, wouldn't you expect that Woolworths will have a permanent consequence of their
I don't think so. The Qantas side of it was more about if you've been a victim of Qantas over the last 12, 18 months of delay flights or waiting to rejig flights and things like that, that's your own personal thing. This is more of an ideology decision. You know?
We've got an interesting comment here from Kim. She says, I worked at Kmart last year. The Aussie product was delivered to the dock. We were notified to not put it on the floor. It is not about profits. So,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's clear.
That's Coles. That's Coles.
Kmart is Coles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was part of the Flybuys deal. So,
who knows? Yeah.
There's certainly an agenda at play. And if we don't push back against this agenda and we don't command the narrative, as we say on this podcast, then...
Well, I think there's a bit of pushback. I think with the referendum result, there is pushback.
But people are calling to boycott Woolworths and Aldi. It's not that simple, is it?
If you've always been a Woolworths shopper and then the only shop in town, most bigger towns are both Coles and Woolworths, haven't they? Even country towns.
Just talking.
Even country towns. The Gunnedah Gazette. They've got two shops in there.
Yeah. How about that?
Oh, well, fair enough. I was thought more go on the side, but most country towns have got two, Coles and Woolworths, anything over a population of 3,000 or 4,000 people.
Some people might not even have a Coles. They've only got a Woolworths in town. They have no option to.
Well, if I a country town way out the back country of New South Wales, there's only an IGA there, and that's a population of 3,000 people.
I haven't seen IGA selling Australia Day merchandise. They're not really big on merchandise, are they?
They're the basics. They're basics.
The basics, essentials.
Basics,
yeah.
Fruit and veg and a couple of chocolates here and there. It is just basic of basics, and that's their model. Yeah, Aldi. I know what the hell Aldi wants to get into this sort of stuff. I don't know. Probably someone from HR or diversity, equity, and inclusion people and stuff like that.
We've got a comment here from Neil Turner. Hello, Neil. Unemployment is at 4%. If we would take up manufacturing, we have no workforce and no technology. It would cost billions in technology to service a relatively small population when other countries have huge market base. We cannot do it. What do you have to say about that?
Well, we've basically always been well, up until 15, 20 years ago, we did have industries. For example, the other day I was looking for a fridge, and the bloke said to me, and my mum said to this person, "Oh, is this made in Australia?" He said, "The last one was made in." We bought a Westinghouse one.
Yeah.
Westinghouse had a factory in Orange.
Yeah. Isn't this an Australian company, or at least it was, right?
Was, but obviously it's manufactured. This was made in Taiwan now. Thailand.
Yeah.
But the Westinghouse had built their own in Orange.
I heard an American guy. It was sent to me. I don't really know who he was, but he's making a lot of sense. He says Australia has done obviously very well in the mining industry in recent years, and we've shifted up. We dig stuff up, and we ship it out of the country, and we say bye bye. We haven't actually built up the manufacturing, the second side of things.
What's called value added.
Yeah, so we mine iron ore, but we don't produce steel. We produce a lot of wheat, but we don't make flour. We haven't really diversified and expanded into these other areas, and maybe that's what Neil was having to say, that maybe we just don't have the workforce and the technology to do that. But we did used to manufacture steel.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Neil remember up in the Hunter Valley, we used to make a lot of things up in the Hunter Valley.
So what happened?
Costs, China becoming a first world.
There's something else as well.
What's that?
Ross Cameron always talks about how when the Americans were closing car factories in Detroit, they were opening them in the South, and that was the ultimate indictment of contract labour over unionised labour. So flexible work practices are really important. Like if you've got a factory, if you can run it 24/7, you're going to make a lot more money and produce a lot more product than if you run it 12 hours a day. And we don't seem to put much value in that. We don't seem to want to live in a way that can create industries that run like that. So we have to make a decision as a country whether we want to actually produce, world's best practice products. And I don't think we're there yet.
Our wages are high. Our costs are high.
Yeah, our energy costs are high. Yeah, it's like we're not even in the game.
That's really right. So, do these activists and all these sort of things? What do they want? Well,
they're Marxists. They want to, and the whole doctrine of Marxism is to tear down society and to destroy the fabric of the society. It doesn't matter if it's working or not. They want to get their ideology and their agenda through. So they will attack everything, whether it deserves to be attacked or not.
I would love to have one question I've asked.
I think you've got to be a bit more specific, though. That it's just that they are financially and business illiterates. They just don't understand the value of money. They just think money comes from just wherever. You can just get money and you can spend it. I mean, this government.
Richard, they don't care about the money. They want to bring down the system so they can institute Marxism. They don't care about all that. They don't care about profits. They don't care about making money. They don't care about lifting people out of poverty, because the sole driving force for them is to bring in a Marxist, socialist, communist, whatever it has to be, society.
So, John, Richard and Stephen, you'd love to interview a Ruddick or a Rod Roberts and say, what are these people like? What are they like? Are they sub-ordinary human beings? Are they, or if they're from a different planet, these people? Well, I love to ask it. You love to ask, but because once again, they control the narrative. And they have their own interviews with the ABC and the Guardian.
I've got a comment here from Lee. I think it's Lisa. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, she says the Lima Agreement. I know a lot of people say that. I mean, there's all this started with the Lima Agreement back in 1974 or 76. Well, probably 74 under Whitlam.
Yeah, it'd be under 74, 73.
Where that's when our manufacturing and a lot of manufacturing in Western countries was shipped off to China and some of the third world.
That's right. It's just pure cost. But coming back, you love to interview these people after they leave Parliament and say, what are these people like, and what they say publicly and what they say privately, and what they actually believe in,
and who's behind them.
Oh, no doubt there are people behind us. people behind other parties have people behind and things like that. But what sets them out differently to us?
Well, it's ideology. I mean, we believe in capitalism, and
but how do they live? Do they practice what they preach?
No, that's not. They're hypocrites.
That's right. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, a good percentage of my lefty friends have inherited young, yet they still want an inheritance tax. They want to cut private school funding, but they send all their kids to private schools. It's a joke. They say one thing and do another.
That's right.
We've got a comment here from Neil. Neil says, Karl Marx opposed the principles of the political economy, never worked anywhere, but we owe our success to the free market economy.
So true, Neil. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Name a socialist state that is successful.
It doesn't exist. Look what's happened now in Argentina.
The lefties will tell you. The lefties will tell you that Scandinavia is successful, but good luck trying to get Australians to pay twice as much income tax, because that's what's involved.
And the size of these Scandinavian countries is from here to Penrith, isn't it?
Well, some of them are blessed. Like Norway's got 100% renewable hydropower and so on. So, that and a very small population.
But they're small countries, but aren't they? Land-wise, isn't it?
Oh, some are.
How big are these countries? How big are these Scandinavian countries?
Some of them, Finland's quite large. I mean, along the coastlines, and they're big countries.
As big as New South Wales.
Sweden's big.
Huh?
Yeah.
They're quite big. There's a lot of land if you take them all into account. It's a big place. There's not much there. There's a lot of snow and there's.
Well, therefore, if they're unused land, you don't put infrastructure there. You don't put power poles up.
Plenty of spaces for wind farms and solar panels. And
well, they've woken up. They've gone nuclear.
Yeah, that's
some
true.
of these states. But
now, Richard, we'll probably shift now and talk a little bit of American politics. Do you want to stick around for that, or you want to head off?
I'll stick around for a while.
Stick around. Well, just before we finish, I just want to finish off by saying that we're going to celebrate Australia Day. Well, at least I am. I'm going to fly the flag, and I just want to hit this.
So you've done a bit of work, haven't you? Done a bit of work.
I hope everyone liked that. I hope it didn't blow their eardrums. But all right, let's shift to the Iowa primary results in America. Now, I think these results were not in doubt. Everyone knew that Trump was leading. Trump was ahead. There was more of a question of how big the margin was and maybe the placings of DeSantis, Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, firstly, Sam, did any of these results shock you?
I didn't think Trump would win by that far.
Okay, you thought it would be tighter.
I didn't think he'd get 51% of the vote or 52% of the vote. I thought he'd get 45, 40, low 40s.
Okay, so he's got 51%, which is
I thought if I was disappointed, I'd be disappointed in DeSantis. I thought he'd get more votes. But what you remember is that abortion law he put in Florida wouldn't have basically no abortions. I think that would hurt some people, even in Iowa, farmers in Iowa and things like that.
Yeah, okay. Because
there's a bit of evangelical people in Iowa.
Yeah,
not just farmers.
So for people listening just to the audio, Trump got 51%. Now that's 20 delegates. Ron DeSantis got 21.2%. That's 9 delegates. Nikki Haley, 19.1%. That's 8 delegates. And Vivek Ramaswamy, 7.7%. That's 3 delegates. Now, this delegate system is interesting. They have to, over the whole course of the whole thing, and the whole, going to each state and everything, Trump will have to get 1,215 delegates.
Won't be a problem.
Won't be a problem. What do you have to say, Richard?
Nothing.
Phoenix says Nikki will have no job when Trump beats Biden. She already worked for him. Now she's working against him.
Rubbish. I think he'll find her a job.
Yeah,
I think if he's smart, I'm probably the mansion, the penthouse in North Sydney won't like this, but I reckon she should be VP.
I don't know, because Tucker Carlson's already come out and said that if she is the VP, he's going to campaign strongly against. He'll be the one out in front campaigning against it, and he will vote against Trump if Nikki Haley is the VP.
How are they going to get votes, women's votes?
There's other candidates. I don't think they have to. I don't think, and this is the same thing they push with Aboriginal people here and other ethnicities as well. We've heard, Hindus don't vote for Hindus. But I don't think women just vote for women because they see a woman on the ballot. I think they vote for
Julie Bishop.
Say that again, Richard.
They did with Julie Bishop.
They voted for her. Or they just put her in power?
Another Julie Bishop. She's just there to sort of look good.
Well, I don't know. Well, the sooner that Nikki Haley is out of the race, I'll be happy.
I think she'll be last one to drop out because she's got some backers.
That's right.
Big
I think so.
The Koch brothers.
And she already came out. Despite the fact that she came third, she made a statement that night saying, "It's now a 2-horse race." Well, what does that mean? Is Trump and DeSantis or?
Well, Ramaswamy's dropped out, hasn't he?
That's what I'm disappointed about.
So those 3 votes will go to Trump now.
My take on Ramaswamy, to come in from out of nowhere, from obscurity,
very intelligent person.
He's got
speaks well.
Mate, I think he's younger than I am. I'm 39. I think he's 38.
He's not a member of parliament, is he? In the Congress?
No, he's like Trump. He's from the business world.
Yeah.
He didn't. Now the difference between him and Trump is Trump had a presence beforehand for decades. If everyone saw him on TV, they knew who Trump was. No one knew who this Vivek Ramaswamy guy was. He's basically come from 0 to 7.7%. That is huge.
He's been very impressive.
You always talk about how hard it is to come from nowhere.
That's right.
And to get 7.7% of the vote. Now, mind you, he spent the money to do it, but he speaks very, very well. He's quick as a very quick as a shot,
and he's quite happy to debate people from the opposite side. And he's not afraid of that.
He doesn't back down, and usually when someone has a go at him, whether it be on CNN or wherever it has to be, he's quick and nails them
and answers questions intelligently, not like with due respect to Trump, where he'll half abuse you, where he'll answer the question with intelligence and facts.
Yeah.
He's been very impressive.
Have you seen much of Vivek, Richard?
Yeah, a little bit. He's very impressive. Wouldn't you want him as the vice president?
I think so. I would love to see him. I would love to see him as vice president. I'd love to see him as the next president.
Well, I mean, how does he compare to a flake like Nikki Haley, whose main appeal is that she appeals to Democrat voters? I mean,
well, they're saying I listen to a lot of American podcasts like Tim Pool, and they're saying that a lot of Democrat voters are registering for these Republican primaries and voting for Nikki Haley.
Yeah, to try and disrupt Trump, is it?
Yeah. And once they get to states like New York and some of the more Democrat-leaning states, then it will have a much more bigger impact.
Yeah, but you take away the 3 or 4 big states of the Democratic states, Trump will win everywhere else.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It'd be hard to believe.
Where's Nikki Haley from? She from North or South Carolina?
I thought she was New Hampshire.
I thought she was from one of the Carolinas.
Okay.
Carolinas, I think.
Sorry?
Carolinas.
One of the Carolinas. I think she's from the North.
Mm.
But everywhere else, she's not going to win anywhere in Texas or any of those states in the bottom.
You wouldn't think so. Yeah. But back to Vivek. I mean, I was extremely impressed with Vivek, and I probably would have. I mean, I know I can't vote for American issues, but I would have probably favored Vivek over Trump for 2 reasons. One was, Trump still pushing the vaccine, and I think Trump was weak on censorship. I think he had an opportunity to stop all the censorship of the social media companies at the back end of his presidency, and he did nothing. The people were trying to warn him and they were trying to get him to act. He did nothing, and Vivek's come out very strongly on those 2 issues. And
with Musk in charge of Twitter now, it won't be as influential this election.
Yeah, but Trump doesn't really use Twitter. He's still on Truth, and how many people use Truth?
Yeah, but there's still a lot of people who go on Twitter, and there'll be more balance this time around.
Okay.
Because Musk won't give the Democrats an easy hand like Jack did.
Yeah.
Facebook's insufficient compared to what Twitter is.
Politically, yes.
Yeah. So he wouldn't worry what's happening on Facebook.
I'm surprised you're not on Twitter, Richard.
I think I've got enough distractions. Maybe. Never say never.
Okay, Richard, do you have any final closing comments? We're going to talk about a little bit of podcasting stuff after this, so we'll let you go here. Do you have any final comments?
No, not really. Good luck with it all.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, and we've got some very interesting topics to talk about with you in the coming weeks. We're going to do probably a roundtable on minor parties and also the climate change renewable scam. And I'm sure a lot of other issues that are floating around in your mind. So we look forward to that. And hopefully to see you in the flesh very soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
See you around, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, Sam, we'll carry on just for the final talk. Now, you're a big fan of Pat McAfee.
Yeah. I just think, obviously with the Aaron Rogers situation with Jimmy Kimball the other week, it's all blowing up.
So to let everyone know, a lot of people might not know anything about Pat McAfee or Aaron Rogers, but Aaron Rogers is a New York Jets gridiron player.
Played for a lot of years at the Green Bay Packers.
And he's, an anti-vaxxer. Ooh. And
he says that the vaccine is not tested properly.
Okay. And he's also come out and said that
Jimmy Kimball was on
Epstein Island, which he wasn't named, was he? So that
he
was
made assertions, and Kimball threatened him to sue him and stuff like that. So
now Pat McAfee is one of the biggest podcasters in America.
Yep.
And he was picked up by ESPN.
That's right.
And he was getting paid $85 million
for 4 years.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, Pat McAfee has this attitude that he's in charge. He's the top dog. No one's going to tell him what to do. No one's going to push him around. Aaron Rogers has been on his show and obviously been pushing these issues, his beliefs and everything. And I guess ESPN, which is owned by Disney, is not happy about this, and they've pushed back. And I guess Pat McAfee is back down.
But he has backed down because money talks and pardon the French, bullshit walks.
Yeah. So for everyone, we'll just play this clip so everyone knows a little bit more about it.
ESPN sports personality Pat McAfee is done with the drama, announcing today that Aaron Rogers would not appear on his show for the rest of the football season. And he sounded relieved.
I'm pumped that is no longer going to be every single Wednesday of my life.
McAfee says he believes that his viewers will be delighted at the news that Rogers won't appear anymore.
There's going to be a lot of people that are happy with that, myself included, to be honest. With the way it ended, it got real loud and real loud. I'm happy that is not going to be my mentions going forward, which is great news.
Rogers last appeared.
So, Sam.
I think deep down, McAfee did what, when you're getting paid that sort of thing.
See, this is the thing. Everyone thinks, oh, wow, I'm going to stick to my beliefs and I'm going to stick to my core values. And I mean, that's very important. I always say you can't take this money with you. You can only die with your honor. So you need to stand up for what's right. But if someone's paying you $85 million over 8 years, you're going to start thinking about, what nice seaside property can I buy, and what yacht can I buy, and what nice car am I going to be able to put in my garage? And you start, imagining all these things, and suddenly one of your mates starts speaking out of line, and it could potentially take all that away from you. So
as I said, money talks and BS walks, doesn't it? So, but deep down, I think this is the penalty McAfee. This is the McAfee's problem. when he was on, had his own podcast, and there was 300,000 people watching him every day, and one of the biggest profiles on alternative media. He's joined the established media. Now he's got to do as he's told. Deep down, I still think he says, this is the consequences of being part of the
machine.
So I've got tough for the next 3 or 4 years. Obviously, that money he'll spend that money on infrastructure. I reckon in 4 years' time, or even 2 years' time. I reckon deep down, I reckon McAfee might tell ESPN, I'm leaving. I'm going back to where I was before.
Well, I guess Tucker Carlson is the model, isn't it?
Yeah.
He doesn't need Fox News anymore.
To a point. But
he's getting more views now on Twitter than he ever did on Fox News.
But McAfee now will want a bit more publicity of being on ESPN and stuff like that.
Mm.
And once he leaves, he might get more viewerships and stuff like that.
Podcasting, I have a lot of faith in podcasting.
It's tough work.
It is tough. It's not easy. It's not easy to build things up, and it's not easy just to get to huge numbers.
Well,
but there are huge numbers out there. I heard this on the Chris Smith show yesterday, I think it was. In the last year in Australia, there was 1.0 billion podcast downloads.
In Australia only?
In Australia.
Only?
That's 2.8 million a day.
Oh, gee, I didn't think it was that big.
So it's big. I mean, that includes all podcasts. There's a lot. I mean, in the political realm, there'd be a fraction of that. A lot of comedy podcasts out there, and they'd be quartering the market.
Stuff we even wouldn't know.
Joe, as a comparison, Joe Rogan gets 11 million downloads an episode. 11 million an episode.
That's right. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But no, McAfee. I'm sure he would have told Aaron said, mate, let's cool our heels. Come back in September, and let's start from scratch again. Although Rogers might say, I don't want to borrow you anymore.
Maybe they've come to an agreement. He said, I'll come, mate, just lay low for a little while. We'll let this blow over.
That's right.
We'll pick up again.
That's it. But if Disney might say in September, we don't want him again. And Rogan and Pat might say, okay, fair enough. I'll have to keep going. Or Pat might say, see you later. I'm out of here.
Yeah, okay.
Once again, those decisions are made during the summer break in July.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're rating. I don't know if they're rating that well in them. I think I read some stuff that McAfee isn't rating that well on ESPN. Mm-hmm. What you remember, they did sack a lot of people
to get him.
They sacked they cut a lot of costs back. A lot of people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
To get McAfee in.
Yeah.
I know a lot of sports commentators, like a couple of basketball, NBA commentators, they all got done.
Yeah.
A couple of commentators that do their things like that.
Yeah.
They all got chopped. There's another big blue at the moment in America. Sports, political.
How can they have so many issues over there? Tell me about it.
A bloke called Stephen A. Smith, who's on ESPN, and a bloke called Jason Whitlock. He used to work at ESPN and Fox and things like that. He's a conservative and he's a liberal lefty and stuff like that. And they've been blueing for the last couple of years, and basically ESPN told Stephen A. Smith to get stuck into him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the hits have gone up. Like Stephen A.'s show's gone up by 15%, and Whitlock's show's gone up by 5 or 10%.
So what we really need is we need to be like WWE wrestling, where we have these fake blues on. So that bloody Adam Zara. If I have to do another podcast with that Adam Zara,
that's right. Or
then everyone will be like, "Can you hear what that Stephen Tripp said about Adam on his new show?"
That's right. Yeah. But that's more a step. Once again, those people, Stephen A., Jason Whitlock, Pat McAfee, Jimmy Kimball, they've all had access to free-to-air established media. Then eventually they'll go, like Jason Whitlock he does his own show, podcasts and things like that. But the ones who've got the most hits were previously in established media.
Yeah, okay.
Megyn Kelly in America is big on podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of hits, but she was established. She was on Fox.
Yeah.
The people who are established, Tucker Carlson, most of them, those people have got a head start because they're on established media.
Do you think podcasting eventually will take the role of established media? Or do you still think people like their 6 o'clock news and see the short clips?
I think so. Yeah. I spoke to a bloke who lives near me. He's a very senior person in Macquarie Radio. Actually, he's very, very, very high.
Yeah. Okay. So they own 2GB, right?
2GB. He's on top of the pyramid.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
He lives not far from me, and I see him a lot of Sunday mornings. Surprisingly, I don't know why. And he thinks it could happen. The alternative media might hit it, but he reckons there might be another generation or two.
Oh yeah, well I'm talking the next 10, 20 years.
I think more 2050 personally.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a long way. Long way.
Well, if
you're in your car, you still got the radio on.
Yeah, but you can easily have a podcast on as well.
And
a lot of these radio stations like TNT radio. So I listen to Chris Smith every day going into work, but Chris Smith is on at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm driving into work at 6, listening to him at 6 because I can listen to him later.
But TNT radio is basically a filler for American stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
midnight their time and stuff like that where they switch over.
Doesn't matter. I mean, it's still content that you can. So instead of listening to 2GB, I now listen to TNT.
Yeah.
So
do you want to talk about Alan Jones or
if you want?
Yeah, it's a bit of a.
I don't know too much about the Alan Jones.
Well, it's always rumors that they start from 30, 40 years ago.
Everyone knows the story of him being in the toilet with the kid in London.
Yeah, and John Brennan, who was the guru of radio in the 70s and 80s, basically bailed him out and stuff like that.
Yeah, because he wasn't convicted.
No, he wasn't convicted, but yeah. I think there was a settlement and stuff like that.
Is he still going with ADH?
Oh, yeah. It'd be interesting what happens next 12, 18 months, because obviously the established media of the Herald and the ABC are always anti-Jones.
No, they'll go after him no matter what.
They'll go after him until the day he dies. And be interesting what happens there. A lot of money. James Packer's put money into AHD TV.
I know John Law celebrated 70 years in radio.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Is Bob Rogers still going on radio? Don't think so.
I think they might have him on as a guest.
He's in his 90s.
I didn't listen to. I don't know much about him, but
he was very big. He was very big in the 50s and 60s and 70s.
Look, these personalities, and we spoke to Chris Smith about Ray Hadley, Alan Jones. I mean, back in the day when 2GB was running high, these guys were the top of the food chain. So
kings.
Yeah, so it's no real surprise to me that they're throwing their weight around and maybe, at a Christmas party with a bit of grog in them or whatever it might be, they do things untoward.
Unfortunately, that was Chris's problem.
That was Chris's downfall. So
if he didn't do that, he'd still be on 5 o'clock on Sky News on Monday to Friday.
Phoenix says there is a lot of people coming out about Alan Jones, and I haven't seen him on Sky News as a guest in a long time. Well, I think his days at Sky News are done after they let him go.
Do you live in Australia? Because if you do, I think you're on another planet.
What?
Because everyone knows Alan Jones hasn't been on Sky News for about 2 years.
Oh, don't abuse the Phoenix is making some very good comments.
I still think he lives in some penthouse.
You want to explain what you actually mean by that? Because no one's going to understand. No one understands what. So any person that comes on this podcast and supports the Libertarians, you're going to say that they're in a penthouse in North Sydney.
That's I got a shit stare 'em. Yeah.
Oh well, Sam, thank you very much.
They love throwing mud at people. Sometimes they got a bit back. Sometimes
the Libertarians.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think you're a bit hard on them.
No. I just thought that they like dishing out a bit.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on today, Sam. It was a pleasure as always. Do you have any closing comments or anything like that?
Now that the political season's in, the political people are back in charge, we'll try and make it more regular every couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, that's my plan.
I think we want to do this every second week. I don't think it's during the Christmas and New Year period. I think it's dead as a doornail. There's no point in having podcasts and just on Boxing Day and things like that. I think always a gap.
Well, we'll rotate it around. I know I'm planning to have Paul Vallejo to come on and speak about some interesting topics. Also interviewing someone from the UK next week.
Variations of Spice of Life.
Yes, and he had a lot to do with Brexit and those issues. So it'd be interesting to speak about what's happening in the UK and the issues that they're facing in their parliaments, and also picking candidates there. They're having a lot of issues, similar issues to what we're having here. So it'll be interesting to see the correlation between here and the UK,
especially as the Conservatives have been in government for 15 years and their polling is terrible at the moment.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for everyone. Thanks
Kimmy.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Phoenix. Thanks, Neil. Adam, thank you, and also Richard Storch, thank you for calling in. We love when people call in. I mean, we would love this to be like talkback radio where people can call in and have their say, and obviously the comments are great as well. If you do, as I said at the top of the show, if you do want to support us, you can head to Buy Me a Coffee and you can contribute there. It can be a very small donation, it can be a larger donation. See, people have been making large donations, which has blown my mind, and I mean, I set it up more because someone recommended it to me, and also because they said, people can make smaller donations. If they enjoyed an episode and they found some entertainment in it, they can just flick you a couple of bucks. But people have really embraced it. So thank you everyone that has. If you do, jump on there. I'll put the link in the show notes. And
you never told me that people are contributing money. What?
In the ex-candidates, yes, they have. Yeah,
good, mate.
Yeah,
you never told me that.
Yeah, it's happened.
Good. That's after 18 months. It's been a lot of work. It's been nearly 2 years since you've been going with you and
we Adam and I started about a week after the federal election, so
just
June or July 2020.
So good 18 months. As I said to you, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
perseverance.
I mean, we do it because we enjoy it.
And look at you. You're so much confident. When you first started, you were now you're confident. You're talking up and all that sort of stuff. And even your public speaking. I've said this before, and I'll say it publicly. It's so much. You're confident. You're sending that voice out there. You're confident. You're banging out there and confident. It's crisp. That's just through experience.
They say it's like a muscle, I guess. The more you, and I guess it's a big reason why I do enjoy the podcasting, because I have always struggled with public speaking and speaking in general. Like when I was younger, I had to go to speech pathology classes.
Right, didn't know that.
Yeah, I've always, and there's certain word I was trying to say. What was the word I was trying to say?
You know what problem with my speech was? I was a school dropout, so it made no difference.
There was a word I was trying to say yesterday. I can't remember what it was. Collaborative. I can't say collaborative. I have to like slow it down. So it's like collaborative. I can't. There's certain words I really struggle.
You'll have to avoid that word and try and turn that into some other word.
Yeah, but sometimes I freeze and I'm trying to think of the other word and I can't think of anything.
Well, there's another word for collaborative.
That's definitely one.
Collegial decision.
No,
collegial.
No, I don't think
so. A collaborative decision. What else?
Joint.
A joint decision.
Joint decision, maybe.
That sounds too bland, but that's the problem. Collaborative is a perfect word.
Collaborative, if you can say it properly.
I'm just saying that is a perfect word because, that's a long word. That means everyone's got a real meaning. Where a joint say,
That's why I don't use too many big words.
Yeah,
to dumb things down a bit.
But that takes time, and you'll improve off that too.
Yeah.
But coming from what you were 18 months ago, it's phenomenal.
You too, mate.
And even Adam,
even you got into the podcasting mode, and
even last time where I was speaking from out here, now it's down here. Now just get used to it. It's just experience. That's all.
That's right.
And even if Adam's still there, even Adam talks better now. And that's just through experience. That's
all. Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers, mate, for the new year. I hope everyone has a good new year.
And we'll see you back again, Sam. We'll have you back on, of course, because you're a big part of this, and Richard is as well. And we'll thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
It's back, the Reckless Renewables Rally. Make a statement where it truly counts, this time in Canberra. Join us on the Parliament House lawn at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February 6th, the first session of Parliament for 2024. People from across the country, coastal and regional areas are rallying for the government to stop the reckless rollout of environmentally harmful, unreliable and costly so-called renewable projects. These include wind, solar and high voltage transmission line projects. Listen to speakers representing the federal and state governments, community organisations and environmentalists, all accompanied by great music and entertainment. Bring your flags, banners, signs, and most importantly, your voice and ears to support rural and regional Australia. Together, let's ensure that the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Chris Bowen, and the Australian Government take responsibility and stop the risks and costs associated with their reckless and obsessive rush to adopt these so-called renewable energy projects. What's on the line is Australia's national interests, our economy, our security, and the well-being of our environment both now and into the future. Join us in Canberra. Together we can make a difference. Not clean, not green, not net zero.